Pronouns, they, them, TLDR. Should I pretend to be friends with my TERF mentor or be honest about my feelings? Dear Allison and Gabby, first off, can I just say how thankful I am to have found your content? You've taught me so much about the world in general, and you stopped me feeling so alone when I was a sad queer teenager. So right now, I'm a trainee teacher, which means I'm working in a school alongside a more experienced teacher, my mentor. Everything was going great. My mentor was lovely, constantly trying to feed me, and seemed to be making a genuine effort to get my pronouns right. However, I recently found out my mentor is a TERF after one of the kids mentioned that she had posted some anti-trans stuff on Twitter. At first, I couldn't believe it, but that night I went home and checked and discovered that the kid wasn't mistaken or exaggerating. My mentor had retweeted loads of TERF anti-trans posts. I was really upset. I felt lied to and betrayed and kind of unsafe. I mean, this was a person who had been so nice to me and seemed so accepting, and I just couldn't reconcile her with her online persona. I felt like she secretly hated me and was just pretending to be nice. Acting on advice from my university tutor and my friends, I had a conversation with her about her views. She was really apologetic and explained that she just wanted to protect female only spaces and wasn't against trans people. I'm not sure what to believe. Now I understand why she believes what she does, and she has made some changes, like making her Twitter account private, but that doesn't change that she still posted some really hurtful things. If she wants female only spaces, why tweet mean stuff about trans people? And why imply that trans women aren't women? And why bother to retweet stuff about binders, which doesn't affect gendered spaces at all? In the end, I decided that I can learn to work with her even if we can't be friends. It's not like I'll be able to pick and choose who I get to work with in the future, so I should start getting used to it now. The trouble is, I haven't told my mentor about my feelings. She seems to be under the impression that we've completely made up and that we're friends again. Part of me wants to make my emotions clear. I hate lying/being lied to, and I feel like I'm being just as bad as her now. It makes me really uncomfortable when she touches my back, calls me sweetheart, or asks about my weekend, because I don't know how to say back off without ruining our professional relationship. The other half doesn't want to rock the boat. As my mentor, she's in a position of power over me. She observes my lessons, writes my references, and we need to share an office every day. It might be easier, albeit ickier, to pretend to be friends. I still really like the side of her I knew before, but whenever I try to be friendly with her, I remember the views she holds and everything feels sour. So yeah, should I pretend like everything's normal and hold out until the end of the year, or should I tell her how I really feel? Any advice would be appreciated.
Holy crap. First of all,
I know.
the UK has the highest level of transphobic people. I don't know, not the highest level, obviously, but like there's so many transphobes in the UK. It's really wild. And other people have explained this better than I can right now. But for some reason, the UK is like a hub for transphobia. I would like to reframe the word TERF. TERF means trans exclusionary radical feminist. I don't think these people are feminists. I think they are just transphobes, but TERF is a shorthand. Okay. You said hold out to the end of the year. So does that mean that you will get a new mentor next year? In which case, I get why you wouldn't want to do that. So if she's just your mentor for 1 year and you can wait it out, I understand that. If it's more of like a long-term thing, here's the thing. My concern is that then she now thinks she's co-signed by a trans person. That now she thinks, oh, well, this one trans person I know forgave me and understood me, so I'm fine. And I feel badly sometimes with that, where I'm like, is this person using me as an example of a trans person that says it's fine? Like my trans friend says it's fine. Like the way that, like, when my sister went to FSU and their mascot is a Seminole, a very not good portrayal of a Native American person. And then people would say, well, my Native American friend says it's fine.
Mm-hmm.
And it might be fine for that one person. I don't know. But it's not fine for you, clearly, as a trans person. So I can super understand why you don't want this person going around thinking, well, everything's fine. Like this trans person thinks I'm fine, so I must be right in some way, or my views might not be that bad. In terms of female only spaces, I think that is a dog whistle. You know, it's interesting how many female only spaces are like fine with AFAB non-binary people or fine with trans men. So to me, I'm like, and not trans women, let me say that. But it seems as if your mentor has larger transphobic views than just what she explained to you. And so I do think it's worth sitting her down and saying, there's actually other things that bothered me. And just like in the future, if you're working with someone who is trans or non binary, like, I want you to understand why this is harmful. It sucks that you are the person that has to do that. It super sucks. But I think in the long run, it would be better for this person to not feel co-signed. Do you know what I mean?
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's really tricky. And this was definitely a question where I was very much prepared to defer to you because I don't think I'm really in a position to give advice to this experience.
Mhm.
The only thing I will say is the stuff about feeling guilty for lying, I would maybe just try to like release yourself from that guilt as you navigate whether or not you want to have that conversation. Life is really tricky. We would love if things were morally clear and that we could morally be honest and righteous all the time, but the reality is sometimes that's not safe and sometimes that's not feasible. Nothing about the way that you're navigating this is bad, right? Like there's nothing that you should feel guilty about or feel that the weight of your community is on your shoulders. You're just establishing yourself in this career. You're just finding your way. That it is a very complex, tricky conversation. And it's a complex and tricky situation. You know, as you're figuring out what you want to do, try not to be hard on yourself as you figure that out. I mean, this is a situation that sucks, but it's not your fault that it sucks. It is this other person. They're the quote unquote one who should feel bad. Like I would just encourage you not to shit on yourself on top of dealing with this very complex situation as you figure out what you want to do. And then just in a broader sense of this kind of thing, you know, sometimes with these kinds of decisions, it does take time to figure out what we want to do. And so I think that you can allow yourself the time and space to see what decision feels right for you. And then if you do figure out that you do want to have this conversation with her, I think it might be really helpful to role play that conversation with a friend
Mhm.
so that you're not kind of going in blind or flying off this, off the cuff and really take the time to make sure you know what you want to say and how you want to say it and work with someone that you trust to sort of like when you're in that moment you can refer back to the role play that you've done.
It's hard because in the past, we could just go by how someone treated us. And now we have
Mhm.
access to their social media and their online
Yeah.
persona. And often the online persona is different from who they are to us day to day. And it's particularly strange as a queer person. And I think when I was a woman, like, it was different because it was like I met this guy on the street in New York. Well, I met him at the airport. And like we exchanged numbers and we were like gonna like go on a date. And I Googled him and found his Twitter and it was super misogynistic. But in the past, I would have never been able to see inside his brain.
Mhm.
And so, like, I could only go by, like, oh, how charming he was, like, at the airport. Whereas, like, so, right, like, you could only go based on how this person treats you, an individual trans person. And then, unfortunately, you get to see inside their brain, and it is confusing and hurtful, and you feel blindsided, and you feel like, well, why are they nice to me? But it's this thing where sometimes people who are racist or homophobic or transphobic or misogynist are nice to you because they know you.
Mhm.
But in general, they're not like in their mind, they might be thinking, oh, well, you're one of the good ones. And that sucks. That sucks.